Hello friends, welcome back to the sessions. So in this session we will discuss about the programming language introduced by the SAP and its data types. So as we know, SAP is a business application. So business means your purchase activity, sales activity, production, finance, so on. We do have the different business activity available in the market. By keeping these business activity, SAP has developed the application. So these application will be used to process the data in real time. So now some client, like whatever the applications provided by the SAP, maybe those application will be suitable to end user requirement or not. If those application is of course suitable to the end user, then they are going to deploy and they're going to make use of those application. In certain situation, those standard application will not be suitable or may not be suitable to the end user requirement. In that situation, we need to develop our own custom applications. And to develop those custom applications, SAP has introduced a programming language called ABAP. So as we know, ABAP is a programming language introduced by the SAP. So, like the Java is a language or the platform to develop the application. In the same way, SAP has introduced its own programming language or the platform called ABAP. So, ABAP stands for Advanced Business Application Programming. Advanced Business Application Programming. Now, if I split these words, so we are using the ABAP language to develop the business application. We are using the ABAP programming language to develop the application, and those application is going to suit your support your businesses. Like that the reason in SAP, if you want to, if either you're maybe the functional or the technical, you must require the minimal business processes. Until unless you don't know about the business process, it is not possible to understand the tables and the relationship. If you're not able to understand those tables and the relationship, it's difficult to manage the logic and it is not possible to develop the application. See, if you want to develop some logic, you can get the many source code in the different platform. But what logic I need to implement, what are the table I should use, and how to develop the relationship between those table, it will be again related to your business process. Until unless you're not, if you're not, if you don't know the business, then it's not possible to develop the application. So it is a related. So the programming which you are writing, so those programming will be used to develop the application, and those applications are supporting to your business process. So ABAP will be written as /4 because it's a fourth generation language. It is a fourth generation language. So that's the reason we are going to write ABAP as /4. And again, I'm repeating, it is a independent platform. ABAP, the programming which has provided, it is a language like your Java or any other, or we can say it's a platform. And if you want to start your career, if you want to build your career in ABAP, you don't require any other programming language help. For example, if you want to learn the object oriented, I can say C++, you should have the basic knowledge of C programming. Similarly, if you want to learn the Java, you should have the programming language, knowledge about the basic programming like C or C++. But if you want to learn the ABAP, of course, you don't require because ABAP is itself a programming language. Of course, if you know the programming, somehow you can relate how the data is being processed. But if you don't know, that's not an issue. Of course, we will start it from scratch. And suppose if you have the knowledge about any database languages like Oracle, maybe SQL, then somehow you can relate. Because in the ABAP, of course, we are working on the SQL statements. Most of the statements are related to the SQL, but SAP has added its own stuff and it has come up with its own programming language. Now, whenever we are developing the applications with the help of ABAP programming, then we need to work with the ABAP programming languages. So here I can go with ABAP programming languages. Now, in the ABAP programming languages, what we are going to work for? In that, the most important things we are going to work is data types. You need to come across with the data types. Now, what are the set of data types we are going to discuss now? These are not specific to your ABAP. It is common for all programming languages. Now, what are the set of data types is being supported by the SAP? Those are numeric, and that is going to be represented by using either N or NUMC. Now within the numeric, we do have again subtypes. One with integer, that is going to be represented by using I or INT. Then comes with floating point. This is again one of the data types provided by the SAP. That is going to be represented by using either F or FLTP. Then comes with your packed decimal. Again, this is one of the data type provided by the SAP, and this is going to be represented by using P. Then comes with the character, and the character is going to be represented by using either C or CHAR. It's a R. Then within the character we do have date, and the date we are going to represent. Character is itself a data type. Now within the character we do have date. Date is going to be represented by using either D or DATS. And the default format of date in SAP is year, month, and the day. Suppose today is a date like 01/01/2024. Let's assume. Then in the SAP, the data will be stored in this format like 2024, the month, and the day. So this is your year, this is your month, and the day. So this is the internal format, but again, you can change it to the external format based upon the country specific. In the India, that should be like in the different representation. If you go with the US, it will be again with the different representation. Europe, again, based on the country's representation, we can change it the format. But internally, the date will be stored in this format. Again, we do have the time. It will be used to store the time. So the representation will be T. So representation of nothing but what? While declaring how we are going to declare. Suppose I want to declare the data type with the character. How we are going to represent? With C or CHA. So these are the part of representation. I will come to the point what exactly the meaning of data type and what is the use of this. And the default format of time in SAP is hour, minute, and the second. Now there are two more. One with the string, and the string is going to represent string itself. And the lastly, hexadecimal. And it's going to be represented by using X string. So on the hexadecimal, we never work manually. So that is an internal SAP's convert. That is going to be done by automatically. We never use it manually, or we can say explicitly. But the rest of the data type we are going to use explicitly. Not only these, again SAP has provided few more, but these are the again under that belongs to under these parent data types only. Like if I go with the floating point, back decimal, within that you can find the decimal separately, the raw. There are many things. Okay, that is again sub part within that, but these are the main parent. Now, what is the meaning of data types? What is the use of these data types in the programming? Just leave about the above in general. What is the use of these data types in programming? You know why we are going to write the programs? To develop the application. And what these applications are going to do? It will be used to process the data in real time. So when we started execution of your program, since from your start point, like the thing but like input to your output, it has a long way. Like suppose if I started execution of any program, so of course we are going to provide the input. Based on input, it's going to extract some data from the database and it's going to prepare some output. And finally, it's going to show you the result, the output, I can say. Now, in between, it's going to process the data. It is extracting the data from the database and it's going to be prepared and it's going to be displayed. Now, during that, he needs some temporary memory to hold the data. So what system is doing whenever we develop the program, in general, I'm talking about, not related to the SAP only. In general, like if I talk about the in your local system, if I talk about the paint, if I talk about the like Word file, whenever C open, it's going to open a specific, like, of course, these applications, if I think about the developer point of view, to develop this application, some source code might have been written in the background. Okay, so those source code will get loaded into memory. It will extract the data from the database. It will prepare and show in the output list. The journey I'm talking about, since from your input to output, your data should flow long away. Now, during this time, he needs some temporary memory to hold the data temporarily. Now, let's take you in a real time example. Of course, your day start with the tea, coffee, somewhat other products, milk product, I can say. Now, for preparing the tea, what are the things you require? You need milk, the tea powder, the sugar. Of course, you can stock your tea powder or the sugar, but not the milk. You need to buy it daily basis. Now, what you can do? You will go to the shop physically to pick the milk, right? But if you go with the village level, town level, you can get the loose milk also, not the pocket level. But if you go with the metropolitan city, of course, the milk will be packaged level. Now, have you observed that milk, how they have been packed? Now, packing can be done in the two different way. One with the cotton bag or curtain, we can say, and another with polythene bags. Now, many where like polythene has been banned by the many state government. But if I like differentiate the materials which we can need to be work in real time, especially I'm talking about the, let's take a scenario of food only. The milk, the tea powder and the sugar. Now milk is a liquid material, right? And tea powder sugar is a solid material. Now, if I make it these two parts, one side with the milk, another side with your either tea or the tea powder or the sugar, I can say. Now, can we store this milk in a cotton bag? Is it possible to store? No. We must require the polyethylene because liquid cannot be fit into the cotton bags or maybe the curtain, I can say. But solid material can be fit anywhere. It can be fit in a cotton bag also. It can be fit in a polythene bag also. Same way, in real time, like whatever the programming we are developing, that programming needs to develop the applications and that application is going to be process the data, either read purpose or write purpose. Read means you are reading the data from the database, displaying in an output list, or the data you're entering in a screen and that data need to be stored in a database, vice versa. But in between journey I'm talking about, start point is input screen, end point you're either performing the read operation on the database or performing the write operation on the database. I'm talking about in between journey. So in between, you need a temporary memory. Like as I told you that you are going to the shop to purchase some milk or tea powder or sugar. Now in that journey, like your shop to home, you need some temporary bag to carry the data. Is it possible to carry the milk in your hand? Is it possible? I'm talking about loosely. Is it possible to carry the tea powder or the sugar in your hand? No, they are going to pack it. I'm talking about that package. That package is going to carry your material from shop to home, right? In the same way, the shop is something like your input and your home is like something like output. In between, you're carrying your product in a package that has been packed in a different package. It can be in a paper, it can be packed in a paper also, it can be packed in a polythene bag also, it can be packed in a any wrapper or you can say any cotton bag also. So the journey I'm talking about, in between you're traveling, you yourself carrying that object from shop to home. So that object has been wrapped in one of the bag. That bag is itself a, in a programming terminology, the bag I'm talking about. The material which you're holding, that is a data. That is your actual data. And the data has been packed in a bag. That bag we can call as a memory. Memory, or we can say the variable, or we can say the data objects. One side, the data, that is your raw material like tea powder, I can say. and or you can say sugar, or you can say liquid material. So if I distribute these into two parts, this is with the solid material and this is with the liquid material, right? And of course, while carrying, you are going to pack. That is a part of package. You are going to pack. Not going to write it as a package because the package has a different meaning in SAP. You're going to pack. That can be packed in two different. Either you can pack in a polythene bag, or you can say cotton bag. Or in short, I can say the bag. Or sometimes it can be wrapped in a wrapper also. Now this we can call as a variable or the memory, or I can say data object. There is a different meaning. One is a memory which is going to carry your data, and the data is nothing but your raw data. So now I'll come back to the data types. Now what is the purpose of this? Like we have discussed the different scenario. In that, what is the purpose of data types? See, of course, you are going to shop to purchase some goodies. So as I discussed, government has banned the polythene bag, but of course, the shopkeeper also issue you the bag, but sometimes they will charge you the extra amount. If you go with the big like wholesaler, of course they will charge you the extra amount. So to save that amount, what you're going to do? You're going to carry the reusable bag from your side. It means you're declaring the variable in advance to carry the data. So you're carrying the bag yourself to bring the data from the shopkeeper. So you need to declare the variable in advance to hold the data, right? So you're going to the shop, along with you, you're carrying the bags. But which kind of bag I need to carry? Does it should be the cotton bag or the polythene bag? So it is totally depends upon what kind of material you want to purchase. If you are purchasing some milk, you need a required kind of memory. If you are purchasing a like solid, you need a required. So that I like in normally if I'm talking about the food, we can differentiate it in the solid and the liquid. Same in SAP or in any programming, we can divide into two parts. One with alphabets, another with numeric. In short, you can make it anyone. One of them is solid, one of them is liquid, right? So whatever the variable you want to declare during the programming to hold the data at runtime during the runtime. So variable or memory or data object will be declared to hold the data temporarily during the runtime. So from your input to output, so this in between time will be called as a programming executions time. So during this time, you need a temporary memory to hold the data temporarily. So that temporary memory nothing but the variable or memory or data objects. So that can hold your data. The data can be alphabets also. The data can be numeric also. So what like we directly should not say that it's the alphabets or the numeric. The same alphabetics and the same numeric will be represented in the format of data types. Now there are three things. How to declare the variable in SAP, how to assign the data type to the declared variable. So first thing is what? How to declare the variable in SAP or how to declare the memory or data object in SAP. Once after declaring, how to assign the data type to the declared variable and how to fill up the value. So value can be constant or dynamic also. The value can be two things, static and the dynamic. Okay. So first we will discuss what are the set of data types, what is the purpose of these two. Like within the like if it is the alphabet, like within the alphabets you do have the like character also, then in that you do have the special character also. Within the numeric again you do have the different formats. So we will go one by one. The very first is the numeric one. So it is a data type, it will be used to store, which will be used to store the numeric value. Numeric value, and it will always represent as I can say represent as either N or NUMC. And the default length of numeric data type is 1. 1, or I can say single length. Now, what is the meaning of this? Now, first thing is what? It is a data type which will be used to store the number. Now, what kind of number? Now, within the numbers, I will show you the difference. One with the amount, second with the postal code, or you can say the mobile number. Okay. Third one comes with the IFSC number. Some numbers will be the alphanumeric, maybe your PAN card number also. And the one you can say the Aadhaar number also. With the help of numeric, now among these, like suppose if I say the Aadhaar number, how it will be like? It will be a 12 characters, like 1, 2, 3, 4, space 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 9, 0, 1, 2, something. This is your Aadhaar number. Amount. Like suppose if you purchase the iPhone, what is the cost of iPhone? It is something like 1,51,000 somewhat. This is your amount. Or sometimes amount will be stored in a decimal format. Now this is also number, even this is also number. Even if I go with the mobile number, suppose mobile number is something like, even this is also your number. Now among these, which number will be considered as a numeric type? Definitely not the numeric, sorry, amount. Why? It has been separated by comma. The amount will always be separated by comma. Now suppose if you are storing the amount with the help of numeric data type, then it will never be separated by comma. It will be stored in this format. Okay, so if you want to store the number but without be any separated by comma or without be any separated by spaces. So here we do have the space. Here also we do have the space. Now I want to store the number without be separated by say or without be any separated by comma or some odd decimal. In that situation, you need to go with the numeric data type. For example, it will be used to store, I can say mobile number. Even mobile number never be separated by comma. Then I can say postal code also you can store. Suppose if it is the other number, if you don't want to be stored without be separated by comma or continuous, even you can say account number, bank account number. But IFSC code is always in the combination of alphabets and the numeric. In that situation, numeric will not support. It will take only numbers without being separated by comma in the space. Okay. Now, within the numeric, this is a parent. We do have, again, within the numeric, we do have the multiple. So next is integer. So integer, it will be used to store. It is a data type. It will be used to store. Again, the numbers. Or numeric value. And it will always represent by. Either I or INT. And it will take unlimited length. There is no any restriction for the length. But if you go with the numeric, you need to define the length. Like that is fine. If you are declaring the variable and with the help of data type, you are going to like differentiate what kind of data you are being stored. Either it's a numeric value, either it's a alphabets value. But within that, how many number of characters? Like mobile number, it is a 10 character. Like postal code, 5. Like India, it is a 6. If you go with the Europe, there is a 5 character. Account number, maybe between 10 or 11. You need to define the length. Suppose if I'm not defining the length, then by default, it will take a single. It will not take the remaining. If you are not assigning the length, it will take a by default single length. Next, for example, with the help of amount, what kind of data, sorry, with the help of integer, what kind of data I can store? Only I can say as amount. Because with the help of integer, it will always store the data with the separated by comma. Even not with the full stop, only separated by comma. For example, if I want to store the amount, it will be something like in this way. How you are going to represent the 1000? Like 1 comma triple zero. 15,000, 15 comma triple zero. But every country will be having the different separator that we can call as a decimal places. That is different from country to country, but India we are going to represent in this way. Suppose if you want to store in the decimal places like dot 51, something like, then it is not suitable for the integer. It never holds the data in decimal place. But if you want to hold the data in decimal place, then you need to work with the floating point. Floating point. So the floating point will be used to store the data. It will be used to store the data in decimal place. Exactly this one. In that situation, you need to go with the floating point. And it will be represented by either F or FLTP. Now with the help of floating point, what kind of data I can store? So it will be used to store the amount as well. If you want to store with the separated by some decimal places. Then suppose if you want to store the results, suppose you have just cleared your academy, the last semester, or I can say the last year, and you have received some total amount out of some, and someone is asking you the result in the format of decimal, like what is the percentage, how much marks you have received. Then you are going to say the results in either marks wise. If they are asking, you are going to represent with the marks wise, but sometimes specifically they are going to ask you the percentage wise. In that situation, sometimes percentage will be in the decimal places. Then suppose I do have the 10 trophy and toffee I can say, and that I want to distribute among the three persons, right? So again 10 divided by 3, the resultant value will be the decimal places. So such kinds of any calculations I can say specifically, any calculations, or I can say any results which you want to store. Such kinds of data will be stored with the floating point. Suppose if I say I want to calculate 10 divided by 3. Let's assume I want to calculate something like 10 divided by 3. What will be the result? If you run entire earth, the result will be this only. Now suppose same calculation if I store with the help of integer, it will store only 3. If I say 10 divided by 3, it will store only 3. He will not consider the data after the decimal because he is not meant for storing the data in the format of decimal places. If you want to store the data in decimal places, you must go with the floating point only. Now, suppose in your recent academic year, you have received the marks of somewhat 584 divided by 600, and you have received something like 94.362719, so on. And someone like in your friends or family, or suppose you are going for the higher education, of course, in the application form, you need to say that this is my previous education and this was the total marks I have received or the percentage wise. Are we going to write in this format? Like suppose in your friends or family, someone has asked you what percentage you have got in your previous academy. Are we going to say that my percentage is something like 94.362719? Never. But if you observed any invoice copy, especially I'm talking in India, so as I told you that the date format and the decimal format it will be different in country specific. But specifically if you go in India, the invoice copy, the bill which you used to receive, after the decimal you can find only two digits. You can just observe the invoice copy in India. After the decimal, The final amount I'm talking about. Even line item wise also you can find the amount, but especially the final amount, it never like after the decimal you can find only two digits. But here you're saying that if it is after the decimal, if you want to write only two digit, is it possible to restrict over here? No. Floating point will give the accurate results. Accurate. Even though it will store this entire data. 10 divided by 3. It will hold entire data. Now you're saying that no, I want to write only two digit after the decimal. It is not possible to restrict by using the floating point. Then what is the solution for this? You need to work with packed decimal. So packed decimal will be used to store the data in decimal place, but the advantage or difference between the floating point and the packed decimal is with the help of packed decimal, you can restrict the decimal places. So here I can say it will be used to store the data in decimal place. But, but I can say the difference between, or I can say here user can restrict the decimal place. Here user can restrict the decimal place. Now, what is the meaning of a restriction? And it will always represent by using P. I can say it will represent P. Now, for example, same. You can store with the help of amount if you want to store. You can store the calculation also. You can store the calculation. You can store the results. But here you can restrict the decimal place. Suppose the same calculation I'm taking 10 divided by 3. Now, what is the result? 3.333 so on. If you run entire earth also, you can get the same result. But you are saying that after the decimal, I want only two digits. So it will be something like 3.33. Suppose you are saying that after the decimal, I want only three digits. So it will be third digit. Same way, if I go with 584 divided by 600, maybe my result is not accurate, but I'm just giving the scenario for you. Okay. So it will be something like 94. Now user is saying that after the decimal, I want only two digits. He want to restrict. The first digit will be print as it is. Now what is the second digit? 6. So while he's trying to print the second digit, he will look for the third position of the data. He will look for the value of third position. During the packed decimal I'm talking about. During the packed decimal, before he display the second digit, because you want to restrict the two value after the decimal. I want only two value after the decimal places. Now first will be print as it is. Before he print the second value, he just look for the third value. Does the third value is greater than equals to 5? Does your third value is greater than equals to 5? Is it greater than equals to 5? Neither it's greater than 5 or neither it is equals to 5. In that situation, it will write as it is. The second value he will write as it is. Now take one more scenario. Now same 584 divided by 600, but I want to restrict the third. After the decimal, I want three digits. So 94 point, first digit will print as it is. Second digit will also print as it is. Now before he print the third digit, in the third position, the value is 2. Before he print the third value, he will look for the fourth value. The value position of fourth, or I can say the fourth position value. Does that value greater than equals to 5? The fourth position value, does it greater than equals to 5? Of course, it is greater than 5. Then, what is the next round figure value of 2? 3. So it will print 3.6363. So basically, he's supposed to print 362, but he has printed 363. That we can call as in a round figure. Means whenever you want to restrict the decimal places, let me take one more example. Now user is asking after the decimal, I want only single digit. Now 94 will print as it is. Of course, after the decimal, he want only one digit. Now that is a 3. The first position of that value is 3. But before he print this value, he look for the next position value. That is the second position. Does that value is greater than equals to 5? Yes, 6 is greater than 5. Then it will take a next round figure value. 94.4. This is how the packed decimal. You can restrict the decimal places by using the packed decimal, which is not going to be possible with the floating point. So we never work, like rarely. In short, we go with the packed decimal only. Next, we go with the character. So it is a default data type in SAP. It is the default data type in SAP. What is the meaning of this? See, whenever we declare the variable, we are going to assign the data type. Suppose sometimes knowingly or unknowingly you have not assigned the data type to the declared variable, then by default system will consider character. And it is a universal data type in SAP. It will be used to store alphabets or numeric. Sometimes I can say alphanumeric value. So that's the reason we can call it as a universal. He will accept all, even special character. He will accept alphabets. He will accept numeric or both alphanumeric value. Okay, and it will be always represent as either C or CHAR. Now, what kind of data we can store with the help of character? So it is common for all, but it never stores the data in separated by comma or separate with the decimal. No. Okay. So it will be used to store specifically the name. It may be vendor, customer, student, employee. It can be any name, any alphabets I can say. Maybe address also. Maybe it can hold your mobile number also. So mobile number or postal code, the data, the numbers which never be separated by comma or full stop or decimal I can say, especially the postal code, bank account number, mobile number, that can be stored with the help of numeric also. The same can be stored with the character also. And the default length of the character is 1. Always keep in mind. The default length character is 1, or I can say single. Means if you are not assigning any length, it will hold single digit only. How? That we will see in the declaration. Both numeric and the character, it will be always having the single length. Rest having the unlimited length, like during the integer case, back decimal case, floating point case, it will accept unlimited length. You don't need to specify the extended length for those. Only during the numeric and the character, we need to specify the extended length. And especially, it will be used to store the alphanumeric value, IFSC code or PAN card number, etc. So two things with the character, the default length is a 1, it is a universal, and if you are not assigning any data type, it will by default consider the character. Now, date we have already discussed, it will be used to store the date, and the default format of date is year, month, and the day. And of course, time will be used to store the time, and the default format is hour, minute, and the second. Next comes with the string. String. So the definition of the string, it is a collection of characters. What is the definition of character? It's a data type which will be used to store the alphabets, number, alphanumeric, any special character. Now, collection of a character will become the string. Now, you can ask me, what is the difference between these two in this case? See, what is the default length of the character? What is the default length of the character? Single length. It can hold the data up to one character, single. Like suppose I want to store the name of the employee and the name of the employee is John. This is the name of the employee. Now, whatever the name you want to store in that variable and the variable type is a character, in that situation, he will not hold the entire value. Instead, he will hold only first character position. Because the default length of the character is 1 only. He will hold only J. Remaining OHN, the remaining three character will not be held by the variable. Now, if you want to ask like, I want to hold all the character, then you need to extend the length, maybe up to 5, 10, 15, 20, likewise. But sometimes you never know. Whatever the data we are trying to receive in that variable, sometimes the length is unlimited. Like suppose address. Address never be contains any fixed length of data. Like name is a fixed, like maximum 25 to 35 character. Like if I want to store the first name of an employee, does it ever be like 50 character? Does it ever be like 100 characters? No. Maximum limit is 35 character. If you know, if you go with any form fill up application, in that there is a minimum length for the name. It means name can be minimum length. We can guess it like 35 characters. But address you never guess it. It can be 50 characters, it can be 100 characters. In that situation, you need to go with the string. So string is a collection of character. In that situation, it will hold the complete property of a character, but the length is unlimited. So that is what. Length is unlimited. Infinite, I can say. Now, these are the set of data. Hexadecimal, we never work with explicitly. That is going to be internal conversation of. This is something like it will convert into number of bytes, something like in machine language. So never work with the hexadecimal. So these are the data types we are going to work regularly. Now the question is like how to declare the data object. Once after declaring the data objects, how to assign the data types, and then how to hold the data. Once it is hold the data, now how to print. These are the part of data keywords. These are the keywords provided by the SAP. So data is a keyword which will be used to declare the variable. Then with the help of type keyword, we are going to assign the data type to the declared variable. Then there is a third keyword called write, which will be used to print the value from that variable. And in that, one more keyword called value itself. That will be used to assign the value. So these are the 4 different keywords that we will see in the next session. So thank you for the session. We will see in the next session.